Big Drive Energy birthday episode. Ooh, ooh. Big Drive Mitch is the big 3-0. We're going to talk about birthdays, just revel in being 30 now, which is crazy. Like, I felt old, and now my little brother is 30. That's a pretty insane thing to say and think about, to be honest with you. It hasn't quite hit me yet. Like, I'm almost 31, and being 30 still hasn't really. Or am I 31? Oh, Jesus.
You are 31. You're about to be
God,
32.
yeah, that's how old I am, is I don't even know how old I am at this point. Once you get to 30, it's just kind of all downhill from there in terms of birthdays and celebrations for sure. We're also going to talk about the Arnold Palmer Invitational this weekend at Bay Hill. It's a double weekend on the PGA Tour. So we've got the Puerto Rico Open. Won't talk much about that, but always an opportunity for somebody to get a win and change their careers, as we saw last week with Joe Highsmith, even though it wasn't a opposite field event, if you will. We're also going to talk about the PGA Tour cutting down some broadcasting time, which is great. Everybody wants that. There's not a lot of things everybody can get behind. PGA Tour cutting down their commercials and their playing throughs will be something everyone can definitely get behind. We'll recap episode 2 of Full Swing, and we also have WTF Wednesday and Subway Stories. All right, let's tee it up. What is up, everyone? Big Drive Energy here on a birthday edition for Big Drive Mitch. Happy birthday, brother. I posted this morning when I was at the gym, and then I tried to send.
My girlfriend was like, Jesus, Spencer just woke up and had that fucking whole post put together. Like, you were on one this morning. It wasn't even like 6 a.m. your time.
Well, the funny thing is I was sitting on the couch last night and was putting together the photos, and there was so many from I was like emailing them to myself. That's how because dude, when you're posting on Instagram, you can click your favorites, but I have a lot of favorites from videos we've tried to make. But in reality, I could have gone on and on with the videos that we have of you and just different content that we created, where some of those pictures were actually just screenshots of still videos that we had. And have you noticed the iPhone technology now? Not ignores. What's the opposite of ignores? It auto recognizes. There we go. It auto recognizes your face and puts that in an album. And you can name that person.
I did notice. I've never gone into that like album because it says it like recognizes people. But yeah, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, you still have to like classify the person, but when it creates the album, like I can see the million pictures I have of my kid, and I can name that album like Sawyer, and then it'll recognize pretty much every photo that he's in that I have on my phone. And it did the same with you, but 90% of it was videos that we've recorded from content. So I had to kind of parcel through some videos, and I did you a little bit dirty. I could have gone way worse, but I felt like it was a nice mix of funny and getting in under your skin a little bit and posting something you maybe wouldn't have wanted me to, and then some good ones as well. So I feel like I had a nice variety in there.
I agree. It could have been a lot worse. I always think that. Honestly, after you posted the one of me on the shitter like 4 or 5 years ago when we were in Arizona at the baseball game, I don't think anyone can get worse than that. I'm surprised Instagram has left that up. So after that, I pretty much consider all of it a win, as long as you don't post me shirtless against my will. I think I'm pretty comfortable with any of the photos you decide to post. The breakfast burrito one, do you remember where were we when I took that?
We were at Mesa Country Club, but that was, like I spoke on earlier, one of the videos turned into screenshot photos, because you were talking with a breakfast burrito in your hand, and I was gonna get that part of it, but then you went to go bite into it and I was like, oh, that one took me the longest because I was scrubbing through the video trying to get to the right portion of it where you were eating.
Oh fuck yeah. I mean, all the videos, I'm sure I've got some very funny ones. We should just get together a video of all the outtakes of all the TikToks and shit that we've done over the last, few years, because that shit is hilarious and just us cracking up all the time and laughing. But yeah, you could have done me way worse than you did. So I really do appreciate that. And thank you for the birthday wishes. I genuinely appreciate everybody. I put together a small list of things that I learned in my 20s. If you'd like,
Perfect. Yeah, I would like to hear them, but your mic is, oh, now it's back. Okay.
oh my God, this thing. Okay, number one, fucking, I get a better mic. That's gonna be my number one
Step one.
resolution for my 30s. But things I learned in my 20s. Number one, drink clear liquor. Just get away from the brown stuff. Drink vodka, drink clear shit. If you're going to drink, a lot of people are going sober now. That's very in, and more power to you if you are sober. I'm just not. I'm not there yet. Maybe one day. But just drink shit that doesn't hurt you as bad. Like, just be smart about it. I feel like that's a good one that you and I both learned in our late 20s. Earlier in my 20s, I definitely wanted to be the cool guy drinking the whiskey. You feel like a real man when you got a little bit of that brown in your hand. But eventually it's just like, I want a fucking limoncello dandy. I just want some vodka and some LaCroix. And I can drink a pretty fair amount of them and wake up the next day and feel totally fine and ready for my day.
Well, yeah, so we're vodka drinkers and I still have a little bit of the kid in me. And I just think it's just my personality where I just have a variety of drinks at all points, not only non-alcoholic, but alcoholic. Like for some reason, I just can't say another one in terms of ordering the same drink again. I can't do it. And I'm a big cocktail guy. If I go to a restaurant and they have specialty cocktails, it was actually funny. Kylie and I were at a dinner for our anniversary this past weekend, and I ordered a vodka soda, which was very unlike me. And she literally said, I forget that you can just order normal drinks and you don't have to order off the cocktail menu. And it's so true because when they give you a cocktail menu, 90% of the time, I feel like you just choose one of those and you kind of pick based on your preference of alcohol. And as I'm a buzzword on the menu guy, so if I have a few buzzwords, I pretty much always order that. Mostly food, drinks. It's not as frequent.
What are your top buzzwords for drinks and food? What gets you?
Okay, so on the trip, we went to a brewery that had great food called Cerberus or Cerberus or whatever in Colorado Springs. They had a lamb, or it was either lamb or something, maybe lamb sliders, but they had bacon, some type of special maple bacon. I forget what exactly it was called, goat cheese, and then one other thing. It was like my three buzzwords all in one. And I was like, I don't really care if I don't like lamb sliders at all. And then they had fries with, aioli. That's what it was, like a spicy aioli as well. That was like bang, 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 like three in a row. And I was like, yeah, I'm ordering this. I have no choice but to order this.
This could be hot dog shit sliders with fucking charred bacon, a garlic aioli, and some fucking goat cheese, and you'd be hoovering them.
100%. Yeah. It just, I was reading it and I was like, oh, like as I was going down the three items.
Yeah, like that meme, goat cheese. Oh,
yeah, exactly. Well, not to get too off the rails here, but kind of want to go circle back and put a pin in your point, your first point of what you learned in your 20s about drinking clear liquor. We're vodka guys. We always have been, always will be, at least. I have a whiskey cabinet and I'll drink some if the mood sets right or I just want a whiskey on the rocks. But I feel like we're so alone in that. I feel like we're very alone in being vodka people. Anywhere I go, a friend's house or friends are ordering drinks or I order vodka, they're like, what's wrong with you? And even on the golf course, I'll take shots of Tito's and people think that's insane. And I recognize that that's a little bit insane, but I look over at like a Fireball or a Jack Daniels and I'm like, fucking hell, I'd rather just shoot this Tito's.
See, yeah, that's where you and I differ. I think shooting vodka is psycho shit. Like, obviously, in a pinch, if I'm trying to catch a little buzz, like if we're at a fucking tailgate or something and all there is a bottle of vodka, yeah, I'm gonna take some tootskis off of it. But if I have a choice, I would rather shoot whiskey and make my mixers with vodka because it's basically the tasteless. It's got a taste to it, and it definitely you can feel it. It hits you, but it doesn't overtake a drink. Like when you order a whiskey Coke or whatever, it's going to taste more like whiskey. And I don't necessarily dislike that. It's just like I would rather either just drink whiskey straight or mix my vodka. And I actually, at my birthday dinner in Boston this last weekend, I had a vodka martini and I asked for it a little dirty and they did not make it dirty whatsoever. But I was fairly tuned up at that point. So I just didn't even give a fuck. Missy's like, that is just straight vodka. Maybe
Can
with
you
a little,
can you learn me what dirty means?
it's just olive juice.
So
It,
more olive juice if you get it
correct.
dirty.
Correct. And if you want it like extra dirty, it should be like pretty cloudy with olive juice. And that drink came back and it was just clear as fuck. Like you could just see right through it. And I was like, yeah, that's just vodka. So when you look at that and it's basically like a triple shot of vodka, of chilled vodka, you're like, it's gonna put you under pretty quickly. So I definitely am more of a whiskey shooter or a vodka mixer guy. But I just there's a few reasons why the whiskey hurts me. I mean, it gives me heartburn. So that kind of rules that out if I do it in excess. Like if I'm drinking whiskey all weekend and I can have a few shots of whiskey here and there, like on a bachelor party. But if I'm drinking whiskey all weekend, I'm fucking toast. I will never forget when I was in my early 20s and we went to the Stampede one year out in Elizabeth. I was dipping Copenhagen Long Cut and drinking like Jim Beam and Jack Daniels all weekend. And I remember waking up Sunday morning and thinking I was dying. Like the heat coming from inside of my heart was just so fucking the heartburn was unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. Other than that fucking bologna sandwich I ate in Buffalo. That shit hit me like a ton of bricks. But yeah, after that, I was kind of like, if I'm just drinking mixed cocktails, it needs to be something
Just
light.
drinking cock.
That's something you eat.
Freudian slip
You don't
there.
drink that, bro. Yeah, Freudian slip. But if I'm just drinking cocktails consistently, it's got to be something lighter. And in the summertime, vodka. If you are outside on like a 95-degree day and you want to drink whiskey, you're a fucking psychopath. If you don't want something that's just nice and refreshing, now you take it over the line and order some of the fruitiest shit I've ever heard of with the palm trees in it. I feel like a buzzword for you for a cocktail, you didn't mention it, but a buzzword for you for a cocktail has to be like prickly pear or what's another one for you? I mean, any margarita. I feel like you're just a margarita slut. You like anything that just has the fruitiest, like maybe pineapple or pomegranate, or you see any sort of fruit and you're automatically in.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment. And I feel like drinking is so weird just in general for me because I don't like tequila and I know how fucked up tequila makes me. But margarita is just such a margarita is a drink that I will order. I'll do another one too because margarita is just something about it, the taste. And I think, honestly, if we're being real, 90% of it is the fact that there's a salt rim. If you're not going to give me a salt rim, and that's partially why I don't make margaritas at my own house. I do have margarita mix, and I made one the other day just for fun, but it was not good because I don't know how to make a margarita, number one. Number two, I have the salt thing, the circle, but I don't have the sponge or whatever is necessary. So I usually end up like licking the rim. I shouldn't be saying this in public, but I whatever I can do to get salt
In
on the rim of
public.
that thing, I'll do it. And so I generally don't make margaritas at home, but a well-made margarita is just so phenomenal, other than the fact that they all come in short glasses. So I do not like that a margarita comes in a short, stubby glass. I'm not a short glass guy. I'm always a tall glass guy because I don't know if it just is. I don't know if there's actually more alcohol in it, but it makes me feel like there is, and it takes me longer to drink. Like when I'm at golf league, I'm kind of going off the rails here, but we're talking about drinking. When I'm at league, that's usually my first day of drinking of the week. I generally take Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off, and then Thursday night kind of get into one Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And it takes longer than normal golf, but I'll be one hole in and I'll have finished a whole vodka soda. And I'm like, I can't do 9 of these. Like I have to slow it down. So then I mix in a water or,
you can do 9. It's just not going to go well for you.
No, the drive home is not going to go well. And most likely
turns into an Uber home or a fucking ride in the back of a cop car home.
Yeah. So I try to like keep it to one every maybe 3 holes, and those holes take longer than normal golf. So sometimes I'm like, because I'm always while we're getting into our thoughts about drinking and eating, if I have a drink in front of me, like a Gatorade, whatever, I have to have it every 2 minutes. I can't just sit there and stare at something that can be drinking or eating and just be like, yeah, no, I'm going to wait a minute.
Yes. Oh, it is psychopath behavior. And I am the kind of person, I think you and I are the same way, where I will drink, you put anything in front of me. It's not just booze. It could be a fucking glass of milk. And I'm sure everybody thinks I'm a goddamn sicko, but it could be literally anything. And I'm drinking it so fast. And that is one thing I give my girlfriend shit for all the time is I'll like make her breakfast or whatever. And I'll walk over and I'll give it to her. And then I'll be back over like finishing making myself breakfast. And she's just like sitting there staring at the food. And it's not because she's waiting for me to eat. She just doesn't like eating something immediately when it's handed to her or drinking it. Anytime you get her a coffee, it takes 3 hours to drink any food. Like she waits to eat it, and it's not like she eats it slow. Actually, fucking hilarious. She does not eat slow. I'm not going to go any further than that, but she waits to stare at her food. She stares at her food for like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like that plate would be gone by now if it was in front of me, just because I do not wait to eat. That feels
I eat everything like it's my last meal. Every single thing that's put in front of me, I eat. Like last night, I was eating Cheerios so fast on the couch for dessert that I was dropping half of them because I was shoving them in my mouth so fast.
Oh my God.
By the way, Honey Nut Cheerios are fucking, I don't know where they've been my whole life, but holy shit, I'm a fan.
Okay, another conversation that Missy and I have had. I think Cheerios suck, but I think I've probably only eaten regular Cheerios. And she's like, yeah, you've never had Honey Nut Cheerios. And I thought that's all Cheerios was Honey Nut Cheerios. Or is there just regular ass bland fucking grain circles?
Yeah, regular ass Cheerios would probably be disgusting. I don't think I've ever had them, if I have, but we got Sawyer, like cereal's a great snack for him because you can dump a mountain of it on a plate in front of him, and hopefully that like kills 20 minutes of time of him being entertained and also eating at the same time. So win-win. So we just have this giant box of Honey Nut Cheerios, and I'm on the dessert hunt every night right now. I need to fucking cut it out and stop eating after I eat dinner. But yesterday we ate early dinner, like 5:30ish, or like Raising Cane's, which was not good. And then like 7 o'clock, the Avs game starts, 7:30, and I'm already trying to figure out what I can have for dessert. And I'm like, God damn it.
You're trying to eat fucking second dinner. Also, I love how this was me the things I learned in my 20s, and all of a sudden it's you just ranting about food.
We've gotten circle all the way. Let's circle all the way back and get to some other things you've learned in your 20s, past drinking clear alcohol, which turned into drinking margaritas, which turned into eating Cheerios somehow. There's no rails on this podcast, so we can never go off of them. If you listen to this enough, if you're listening and watching for the first time, we appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. You're listening, rate our show, whether you hate it or love it, give us a rating. We'd appreciate it. But yeah, there's no rails here. We're going in circles.
I mean, we're 20 minutes in, and I've said one thing. I mean, I've said multiple things, but we've gotten to one talking point here. My next one, and it's a little more deep, but I think it resonates with a lot of people because I know it resonates for me, and it's still something that I need to like practice, is just having patience with yourself and with life. Like trying to get things done so quickly and like get yourself to a certain point in life and feel like you need to be here. It's so easy just to wish your whole life away. Like, I remember honestly thinking in my early 20s that I couldn't wait to be in a more secure life in my like late 20s, early 30s, and kind of just have my life relatively figured out. And I definitely still don't. But I feel like your early 20s are such a tough time because you really don't, you're trying to re-find your place in the world. And you've had so much structure, you know, your entire life through elementary school into high school, or then you either go to college or you start working. And but then your friends all, you know, get older and they kind of go all their separate ways, and you kind of have to like refigure out what you're doing with your life. You know what I mean? Or refigure out not necessarily what you're doing with your life, but where you belong, and like kind of finding the spot where you want to be. And sometimes that doesn't happen like right away. And I just remember wanting to like rush through that. Like, I kind of did it the opposite way that a lot of people do it. I bought a house when I was 25 or 26 and lived in the suburbs, and like thought that I was wanted to be this old man. And then 2 years later, I sold that house, moved across the country. Now I live in an apartment in a big walkable city. Like, it's just such a weird, I've kind of gone ass backwards with my sequence of life, I feel like. But I honestly wouldn't trade it for anything because I gained some knowledge, you know, along the way. And that's where I do beat myself up a lot too about like not necessarily mistakes I've made, but just opportunities that I've missed out on. But at the end of the day, when you realize that you ended up here for that reason and for all the decisions you've made in your life prior to this, like, I think that that means something. And I need to take my own advice there. So that's kind of why I'm giving it, because I definitely always am kind of the what if guy. What if this? What if that? Um, and that's just something that it's not a game you need to play with yourself, you know, until, and realistically, like, I feel like 30 almost feels younger than 29 because now I'm kind of just like restarting. I got a new decade. I can kind of set the tone early and often. Fucking
Come out and hit hard and set the tone.
exactly.
Well, I will say, just to go in a little deeper, and maybe we'll stay below the surface here, which is a little scary for us if you know us. But when you say that, I kind of feel the same way in terms of opportunities you've lost. But I think that's just human nature of, you don't understand the opportunities that you hit on because you just think that every opportunity that you take a leap on should happen, because that's, otherwise why would you take it, you know? But
Yeah.
like, I feel the same way, where there's a few things that I've done, I'm like, God, I just wish I wouldn't have fucking done that. But then there's things that I've done that I am pumped that I did, and I'm happy and I'm in a good spot now that I did that.
Yeah.
But I don't think of those. Those kind of go to the back of your mind because you're like banking them. You're like, yep, I did that right. Bank it in the back. But the things that come to the front are always the things that you feel like you could have done differently or not done at all. And then they fuck you, or they weigh on you.
And exactly. And that is, it's very similar to golf, where I feel like my life right now, I've made a lot of great decisions and I'm in a very good position. And I feel like I'm under par for life right now, like in a golf sense. Like, I feel like I'm 2 to 3 under. I'm working on a low round, but I got to keep the foot on the pedal. I can't get lackadaisical. But it's very, golf is just, we've talked about all comparisons, the comps to real life. But when you shoot your lowest round ever, all you're still thinking about is the shots you left out there. You're just taking all the good shots you hit completely for granted and being like, you expect to hit every shot well, you know what I mean? And that's
Yeah,
where in
you
life,
make a, like the 16th hole, you make a 20-footer for par. 17th hole, you make bogey and you shoot one over, let's say one over par total. And you're like, oh, I shouldn't have made bogey on that 17th hole, when you really should have probably made bogey on the 16th hole, but you don't consider that part of it. You're like, I made par on the 16th hole. I made that 20-footer, but that gets banked and goes away. And then you're like, how did I bogey 2 and 4 and 17?
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that goes to kind of another point, like along with being patient, is just the never too high, never too low type of mindset. Like, it's so easy to ride the highs. Like, when something good happens to you, you feel like you're on top of the world and you get that like euphoric feeling. But then when you hit a low spot or something's not going right for you, it's so easy to wallow in that. And I am just as much a victim of it as anybody else. So I have actively tried to get better at that, about, kind of almost taking the Jason Duffner mindset to life. And not to that having emotion isn't bad. Like I am an emotional person. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, I don't go through life without a fucking opinion on shit or feeling strongly about something, but just not letting the day-to-day stuff like really get you down and kind of just keeping a bigger perspective on life. That's where I feel like a lot of people get sucked up. They have a few bad days in a row and they're like, shit, is my life ever going to get better? And it's just having the presence of mind to be like, this is only a small time of my life and there is going to be good times ahead. Like it's just keeping perspective and once again, like you said, realizing how much good shit's already happened to you. Like you take all that for granted. So then when bad stuff happens to you, you're like, oh, woe is me. And you want to feel bad for yourself. And it's like, you don't think about all the good shit that's already happened to you. And that is, if we're getting deep, that is one of my big bugaboos with today's society. And I think it has a lot to do with social media and, where you put like posting shit and seeing other people's posts and like even similar to us doing this versus like fucking Bob does sports. Like, yeah, would it be cool to be them? Fucking absolutely. But we're not them. And that's everybody can hit their stride at a different point. And so that's just where I'm like, stay the course, stay patient. Don't let one bad day get you down, but then don't get too highs. And it goes back, actually, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but Zen Golf, when I read Zen Golf, it was truly like a life book, but it's based on golf. And one of the lines, it wasn't exactly verbatim, but it's the line is, you're not as good as somebody says you are, and you're not as bad as somebody says you are either. Like you're somewhere in between. And going back to golf, you're not as good as your best round, and you're not as bad as your worst round. You're somewhere in between. Now, is there going to be outliers here and there? Absolutely. But if you can just stay the course, stay in the middle, and keep a level head, I feel like you're so much better off for that down the line, and just staying persistent and patient. Like even if you feel like you're not getting results on shit, just keep going. And now I just sound like I'm fucking soapboxing it, but I really, these last few years, like moving to New Jersey was hard. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. And I really didn't have any friends. I was really like worried that I wasn't going to make new friends. And now I'm starting to build this community of people and teaching and getting to know more people and building like myself a little friend group and community. And I really never thought I would have to do that. It's almost kind of like restarting in my late 20s. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it's so fucking cool. And like taking the little wins of like making a new friend. I know that's so lame, but especially when you get older, your friend group gets tighter. You make less effort in making friends. It's harder to make friends. So I really don't take for granted like making new friends. And that's just little wins like that. If you can have something good throughout your day and have that perspective. And I can't believe we're even doing a podcast right now because I'm just fucking letting all my thoughts just flow straight out into this microphone. But I feel like it's just a good perspective to have overall. Appreciate the little things and appreciate what's all gotten you to this point. Cause that's kind of, I've done some reflecting, if you couldn't tell, with me turning 30, like it's a big birthday. So
Yeah, I mean, it's always good to reflect on, who you are and what you're doing and what you want to do and where you've been. So, I mean, it just like life, like when you're on the 16th hole, you want to think about how the third hole was, how the fourth hole was, especially if it was good. You're like, oh, I birdied this hole, I can birdie 16 or what, however you want to look at it. So, no, dude, I respect it, man. I'm pumped for you. The never too high, never too low is never going to happen for me. Like, and I never get to a point where I'm like, oh, what is my life like that? But every little thing that happens to me during the day, I'm always like, oh, I'm going to be a basket case for about 30 minutes because of this. And I'm going to let it absolutely ruin my day. But other than that, I think I do a pretty good job of, there's definitely always some self-reflection that can go on. But I think that there's a lot of times where I feel like I tend to stay fairly grounded, I guess, if you will.
yeah, no, and I think that's a huge aspect of it. Obviously, you're going to be a little emotional about things at the end of the day, but there's like big life shit that you just kind of take for granted on a daily basis. So I just like to, be grateful for where you are and obviously keep your eyes forward. My last one, and it actually is golf related. It has to do with my ongoing speed that I'm trying to gain. And I actually heard this quote the other day, and I really liked it. And it kind of goes into this life lesson that I've learned is like, just purely golf here. Learn how to swing hard and then harness that swing. Like, teach yourself how to swing as hard as you can, and then learn how to dial it back from there, because you can't. It's similar to life. Once you kind of are older, you're not as willing to learn new things. And so if you don't learn something early, then it's very hard to go back and kind of reinvent yourself. So like, go as hard as you possibly can, and you can always dial it back, but it's very hard to teach yourself how to go harder when you're older. Does that make sense? Like, whether it's work, whether it's like something in your personal life, like I think I would rather overdo something and then learn how to dial it back than never do something at all, or be too afraid to do it and then regret it in the end. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. And like in this little golf journey you're on right now about swinging harder, I think it's a cool, like, little reset for your golf game, and something that you want to get better at and that you're actually actively working at. It makes it kind of fun to see if that's a plate you can take yourself to another level, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that is something that in life and in golf, I think having goals is a great thing. And that is kind of where golf got monotonous and shitty for me. Was I felt like I had kind of peaked it as to where I was going to be as a golfer. And now I wouldn't say I've like stripped it down and rebuilt it, but I'm almost like turning in a different direction of just seeing how much I can improve myself, and just seeing some sort of physical result. Whether that becomes a number on a scorecard or not is still, kind of to be determined. But right now I'm just really enjoying like sticking in that routine, because I've been doing it 2 to 3 days a week now for a good 4 to 6 weeks. And it's just it goes back to the perseverance thing. It's so easy to get out of a routine and just be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. But then once you start seeing those results, you're like, holy shit, this is sick. And that's where I get with a lot of people with practicing golf. When I'm teaching them, they're so adverse to practicing. But then once they start seeing results, it's just like anything in life. Once you start reaping the benefits of what you're doing, it just makes you want to do it that much more. But it's pushing through that beginning stage. And I don't know if you've heard this, but I heard it takes like 3 weeks to create a routine. If you stick with something for 3 weeks, it will then become routine in your life, which I really like. So I try to like if I'm trying something new, I try to stick with it for like 3 weeks and at least see how it does for me. And then, it's just so easy to like lose your way. It's so much easier to get off track than it is to get on track. So I've been trying much better with myself to stay on track than to let one day completely derail what I'm trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And let's keep this podcast on track, even though we got off on a good track and a fun track. But this is the part of the podcast where we start talking about golf. Hope you enjoyed the life talk. We love talking just bullshitting. That's what this podcast is. If you come here for Big J golf knowledge and winning picks on the PGA Tour, you come to the wrong spot. So you can leave a thumbs up on your way out, but you can go over and find some DFS fantasy plays for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But we'll talk about golf starting now. All right. Arnold Palmer Invitational. Scottie Scheffler won this thing in an absolute blowout last year. Do you remember that?
No, I really do not.
Yeah, I think I checked the leaderboard because I was looking through to find a couple of picks, and he was 15 under last year, and the closest next guy was 10 under. And so Scottie was our thumbnail, of course. Scottie's the guy. I mean, he's the guy on the PGA Tour right now, but he's kind of like fallen in the background a little bit, I feel like. Am I wrong there? I feel like he had such a dominant 2024, and he's still looking for his first win of 25. Granted, the Masters is where he's plus 300 to win this week. He'll be maybe minus on the books by the time the Masters rolls around. Like, it'd be insane to bet on him unless I don't even know. I can't even describe how much money you would need to bet to make a minus 110 bet for a winner of a golf tournament worth it. Or you just have a ton of money to spend and don't really care. But this is where we see if Scottie Scheffler can get back to winning at a place he's won before. I mean, we kind of joked last year when he won. What's the tournament at Harbor Town where he wins the plaid jacket?
Oh, the RBC.
RBC. He was just like a jacket guy. Every tournament that had a jacket, he won. In Texas, he won the Arnold Palmer. He won the Masters. Any tournament where they give out a jacket seems like Scottie's tournament. So, do you think? Are you concerned? Like, let's put this. Let me put it this way. In your eyes, like Scottie Scheffler is the next Tiger Woods. Now, nobody's ever going to be Tiger Woods. I don't know how many times you need to say that to get everybody to believe it, but Scottie will never be Tiger Woods, but he's that next level and that next player that is going to be dominant for a 5 to 10 year stretch. Are you worried about his current form and the start he's had 2025 that he's could be potentially another flash in the pan guy that had a great 24, won in 23 as well, and has had a kind of a generational 2-year run since Tiger Woods. But do you think he's fallen off at all? Or do you think we're going to see him win 3 to 4 of the next 7 events? And we're like, yep, that's Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that he's still going to win. I don't think he can keep up the clip that he won at last year because that was a generational clip. And I think maybe some people are kind of seeing him come back down to earth now. And it's the never too high, never too low thing. You know, he's probably not 6 wins a season good, but he's probably better than 1 win a season good. He's probably somewhere in that 2 to 3 wins a year. But I also think that his injury with his hand kind of set him back a little bit for sure. And for that reason, I think that we still have to give him a little bit of time because he was clearly distracted with other shit and he's kind of just easing his way back in. But yeah, I still think we give him until the Masters to win. But the toughest thing in that, like golf betting, I've already talked about how much I fucking can't stand it. But Scottie Scheffler is going to be the favorite every single week. And how many weeks is he going to win? You know what I mean? And that's where golf betting is very like you have to spot the trends ahead. And obviously you're trying to pick ahead, not behind, because then everybody would be fucking rich. But the golf, I feel like odds don't quite catch up with a guy. Like, I don't think Scottie, and actually Scottie is now second in the PGA Tour power rankings this week behind Rory. But it's also like, why is Rory first? You know what I mean? Who has really been that impressive so far this year? We haven't had any one guy really step up and plant their flag and be like, this is my fucking year. Now, could Rory or Scottie do that this weekend? Yes. And probably they have the highest probability of doing that. But I don't necessarily see anybody that's like flown off the page at me this year.
Yeah, I mean, Rory won the one event earlier in the year where he looked really dominant, maybe circa 2017, 2018 Rory. And this is an event where signature event, Siggy Sunday. We got back-to-back big weeks. Next week on the PGA Tour is the Players. So a really good stretch of golf because we're less than a month away now, or about a month away from the Masters. So a really good stretch of golf on the PGA Tour coming up. And I am going to take this pot off the rails one more time because we were texting about this last night. And I am going to be angry just talking about it, but I got to get it off of my chest. So I haven't been betting since the weekend, so kudos to me. 2 days. I took Monday off, I should say, because I've been getting into some parlays on the Nuggets, Avs, different sports, and I actually hit a fairly decent sized one on Friday night. So I've been using that and doing some more parlays. I placed a Ludwig Gobert to win any major bet like that, like those odds with that Swedish man, that beautiful big Swede that's going to win a major this year. I don't know which one. But so I got in the betting game last night, decided I wanted to go a little bit bigger on something than I normally would, especially something I didn't really care about or do a ton of research on.
Oh, you're
my
about
buddy,
to talk Villanova right now?
Yeah, Villanova Wildcats basketball can get fucked to the moon. Fuck them, that whole team. So last night I bet on them. One of my buddies who's pretty sharp, always got some good bets. He's winning a lot. He's a horseshoe up his ass guy. He just wins. He went to the Bahamas for like 2 weeks in the last 2 weeks and was up like 15 grand in the casinos. Like, yes, that could be stories, but I also believe him. And He gave me one bet last night, and I was like, is that a homer bet or is that a heart bet? And he goes, no, it's a homer bet because he's a Purdue fan. So he had Purdue. They covered easy. But he's like, I was like, give me your heart bet. And so he's like, all right, your mind bet. And he gives me Villanova -5. Now, I'm not shitting on him for giving me a loser. But this is what happened in the game. Let me just get into the game really quick. Super fast. I'll just run through it, and then we'll go back to golf. So Villanova had the nation's leading scorer. He goes 0 for 8 in the first half. Doesn't score a point. They're a 5-point favorite. It's a Big East game. They're on the road. They've won 3 in a row. They should be feeling good. Then he gets flagrant fouled. They're coming back. It's a tie game. I need him to cover 6. So I figure in college basketball it gets a little wonky towards the end of the game. The last 2 minutes can be kind of crazy, free throws and whatnot. He gets flagrant fouled down 2. He misses 2 free throws back to back. He's an 83% free throw shooter. Misses 2 free throws back to back. They get the ball back. They're still down 2. He gets fouled again. And it was a mess. Like watching college basketball, like I can't wait to watch March Madness, but watching some of the game last night, being dialed in on my Villanova bet, I was like, dude, is there a foul every time down the fucking floor? That's neither here nor there. He gets fouled again. He misses a 3rd straight free throw. This is an 83% free throw shooter on the back of his teammate who missed 1 of 2, who's a 90% free throw shooter. Johnny Fanta was absolutely mushing these guys. He's like, oh, that's shocking to see him miss. He's like, he hasn't missed 2 free throws in a row all year.
Oh, fuck.
So that happens to me. Then they start going on a run. My boys, the Villanova Wildcats, they get up 9 and they get a stop. And I'm like, oh my God, they're up 9. There's like 4 minutes left. Georgetown hadn't scored in 4 minutes. I was like, yes, this is going my way. This is going to be a dub. They get it up 9. The guy gets a rebound, tries to fast break for no reason, dribbles it off his foot. It goes right to a Georgetown guy who bangs a 3. Now it's 6. Georgetown starts pressing, and Villanova turns it over 3 straight possessions. They end up losing the game outright. They were tied late, tied with a minute, with 30 seconds left. Georgetown had the ball. Georgetown hits a game winner. And I was like, fuck you guys, lose outright. That's fine. Last stat that I'll say, Georgetown hasn't beaten Villanova 2 times in a season in the league since I was born, 30 plus years. And they did it this year. So
oh my God,
I just completely mushed the absolute fuck out of Villanova. And I feel like I'm just bad luck Chuck, dude. Every bet I'm like, that's a loser. I gave out a couple picks this weekend in our group chat, both complete losers. And one side I went, oh, favorite's going to cover win. They lost. One side I'm like, oh, I'll take the dog just for a little bit of odds here, get some action in this game. UC Santa Barbara, they lose by 30 in the second half. I'm like, okay.
Bro, honestly, gambling, it's supposed to be fun. And a lot of times it's just not fun. Like I get too worked up about it for sure. I definitely had to come to grips with how I was feeling about Daniel Berger. And you almost feel like, what were they calling Nico Harrison? They love that you have like a humiliation kink. Like,
yeah, that was an NBA Centel thing that Pat
I know.
McAfee got Centelled.
Yes, I know it was a Centel thing, but I think it's a real thing where people like enjoy being humiliated. And I honestly feel that's like when I'm gambling, that's what I'm doing to myself, because I don't gamble with the thought and this is probably why I fucking lose all the time. I never expect to win. Like right off the bat, whenever I lock something in, I immediately look at the other side and think of how much I should have taken that. Like I am just way too fucking indecisive. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. I just cannot. And the worst part was this last week, Daniel Berger, like I had been thinking about him at PGA National for 3 weeks. I was like, this is my fucking dude.
You were sleeping on it.
I was like ready to, I had no hesitation. And right then I should have looked in the mirror and been like, you need to fucking check yourself if you're not hesitant at all about what you're doing here. I was just so committed, like so confident. And then my fucking balloon just got shot down. And that is really where I really don't even want to get back in the ring at this point, because I am just so sick of getting punched right in the fucking face and trying to stand back up and take another fucking punch. And it feels like it's also me on the other end punching myself in the fucking face. So,
yeah, you're beating your own ass, and you're just sick of beating your own ass, but you can't get the beater to stop, so you got to have the guy that's taking the beating stop.
Yeah, I need to stop beating my own fucking ass, and the only way I can do that is get out of the ring. I gotta fucking step out. I gotta tap.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I, I
so
oh, go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say we'll post our picks, my picks for later. We'll post those on the socials. If you're not following us on all those, please do that at Big Drive Energy Golf on Instagram, Big Drive Energy Pod, or Big Drive Energy, sorry, on Twitter and the TikTok and the other the YouTube. Just Big Drive Energy Golf on YouTube. Yes, you have something. You're raising your hand.
Yes, Mitchell. I am once again going to do this. And it's not as hot take as Aldrich Potgieter, who lost. It's not as hot probably as Daniel Berger, shit the bed on Sunday. But Shane Lowry this week is my dog. I'm riding the big Irishman on the heels of episode 2 of Full Swing, which we can touch on a little bit. I love Shane Lowry. He's kind of everything that Rory McIlroy is not. He is just true Irish, fucking balding, goofy ass teeth, like just doesn't give a fuck. And Rory's just this Americanized, goofy fucking wants to be American so bad. Like I feel like he should borderline play for the US Ryder Cup team. And I know those are fighting words, but he is so
Wow.
American. Like I know that
Well,
right right when I
let me
said
get
that,
my
it was kind of a shot. But Shane Lowry is just the dude who epitomizes his own heritage for me, and he's just such an easy guy to root for. That like even if Shano pisses down his leg on Sunday, I'm not going to be mad at the guy. I still will be, but I am going to throw a few shekels on Shane Lowry this week, and let the chips fall where they may. I
That's
don't even
perfect.
know what his odds are.
I'll give my picks here real quick. Hideki Matsuyama to win plus 2,500. I like him at a big event. I feel like he's kind of been a little more silent this year ever since winning the first tournament of the year and just blowing out the field. So Hideki Matsuyama, I feel like is a good pick this week. And then I'm doing this based strictly off vibes. There's a little bit of research here, but you sent me a picture of Max Homa's bag. We'll get into Max Homa and his tweet in a little bit, but
You're
Max
gonna
Homa
bet
to
on
top
Max fucking Homa?
Max Homa to top 10 is plus 750. And he's actually played decent at this golf course. The last 2 years, he's been around the top 20 to top 10.
Are you
So there's a
forgetting
little
about
bit.
his current status of his golf game?
Dude, I had to scroll so far down on the DraftKings app to find him. I was shocked. And I know it's a signature event, so a lot of the good players are playing, but the amount that I had to scroll to find Max Homa's name to get that top 10 bet in was insane. And just for your record, Shane Lowry is plus 4,500 this week to win, plus 300 even to top 10. So those are our picks for the Bay Hill Invitational.
I'm
Not
afraid I'm getting addicted to just like taking $100 or $200 and throwing it on one dude to top 10 and just irrationally thinking that this week is going to be the week that it hits. So I may be doing that again with Shane Lowry to my own dismay, and it's just going to fuck me right in the face once again.
Well, I said this to you and in a couple of group chats. You betting on golf and the golfer playing it decently well is one of the most electric human beings I've ever met in my life. Let's parlay this. Speaking of betting, let's parlay this into a little full swing talk. Talk about Shane Lowry, Rory McIlroy, highly featured, Nick Taylor, as well as Adam Hadwin. And I'll just say this: like I obviously knew Shane is from Ireland, knew Rory's from Ireland, but the fact that when Shane said they hang out like 5 days a week when they're not playing, like I was pretty shocked at how close they actually are. Did that shock you?
Yeah, definitely a little surprising. Like I'm almost jealous because most grown men don't just get to hang out with their best buddies from childhood. Like, oh yeah, we're both on the PGA Tour. We both are worth tens of millions of dollars. We can just meet at the gym and then practice together. Like those guys basically have the best lives ever, along with Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin, to a different degree. But yeah, I'm shocked. Like it feels like Shane Lowry's just much more down to earth than Rory. It feels like Rory's definitely gotten caught up in the hubbub and the bright lights, I guess you could call it. And I'm obviously a Rory hater. I still said he's going to win a major this year. I did turn heel on him and say that he is back. He's very good. But the Rory personality still just bugs me a little bit. And watching some of this full swing back, I don't know. It just Rory's kind of rubbed me the wrong way. He's just not near as likable as he used to be. And I feel like Shane is still just as likable as he was 12, 15 years ago when he won the Irish Open as an amateur. But yes, I did not realize how close they were.
Well, it's kind of funny because they did a good job. I mean, Netflix does a great job with this series in general, but they did a good job of paralleling the two friendships of Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin. And they're both now, Shane Lowry's career far outweighs maybe even Nick Taylor's, but definitely Adam Hadwin's. But just the relation of two friends from the same countries, not from America, that are now playing on the PGA Tour, that one of them's had a clear-cut better career and won a lot more. And the other one is like Shane, you didn't get the jealous factor. They straight up asked. I mean, I don't even think they asked. He just said it unprovoked that Adam Hadwin was like jealous of where Nick Taylor's been and winning the Waste Management, winning the Canadian Open. And then Adam Hadwin getting tackled. Always funny content to go back to, one of the craziest days on the PGA Tour in general. But you could tell Adam Hadwin definitely jealous of Nick Taylor. And not that Shane was jealous, but it's almost like, I don't know how to explain it, but you see it in sports all the time. There's like that bad team that just people like. The Cubs used to be. That's a perfect example. The lovable losers, essentially. And not that Shane Lowry's a loser. He's far from that. He's won a major. He's won plenty of PGA Tour events, but that's what it felt like when you're comparing him to Rory. He's like, oh, well, we're both from Ireland, but Rory gets all the love. Rory's the best player in the world. Rory is talked about all the time, and I'm kind of just this goofy. And he owns it, is the other cool part. He's like, when he's driving to the course and he's like, yeah, Rory, when they're talking about playing the Zurich, which was awesome. The Zurich, just getting that little behind the scenes of the Zurich. I'm surprised more players don't want to play in that and just like play with their buddy on the PGA Tour and try to win a couple $1 million in a bro off tournament. But like when he's driving there, he's like, yeah, Rory likes to play 18 and get there early. He's like, I'm kind of the opposite of that. I like to roll in late, play niner, just, and that, although he's kind of being funny, he grinds on his game very hard. That just mindset is what sets guys like Shane Lowry from the Rorys apart. And I'm not, like I said, I can say it again until I'm blue in the face. I don't think Shane Lowry's had a bad career. He's a phenomenal golfer. But the difference between him and Rory is not only how much they're talked about and how much they grind, but just the mindset you have to have in order to be like, these guys are already the top 1%, one of 1%. And then you got to go another step to get to where the Rorys have been, and their careers will end up being in the history of golf.
Yeah, it's just like any other sport. You hear about the select few guys, like hockey comes to mind with Nathan McKinnon and the elite players that outwork everybody. And although everybody works hard to get there, you're in the fucking NHL, you're on the PGA Tour, you're in the NFL, whatever, but there is guys that just go harder than other dudes flat out. Like that's just not a lie. So it was the image was very funny of Shane rolling into the trailer, the workout trailer before the event. And he's just got like an untucked polo and like some shorts on. And he just looks kind of big and goofy, and Rory's in all his fucking tight workout shit. And it's just like the dichotomy of the friendship. But funny enough, so you talk about the Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin thing. Adam Hadwin, I just looked it up. Adam Hadwin's made $5 million more than Nick Taylor on the PGA Tour. I think it was more just reflective of like their current they're not their current status. I think they're pretty close to the same status, but their current playing form that like Nick Taylor's in versus Adam Hadwin. Because Hadwin, like you talked about, he shot 59 before. I would say 5, 6, 7 years ago, he was a top 10, 20 player. He was just outside that fringe of like a star on the PGA Tour, but he's had a very good career. He's got like 25. Wait, did I see 24 top 10s or 44? So Nick Taylor has 23 top 10s, 5 career wins. Maybe that's where Adam Hadwin's a little jealous, because Adam's only won one time, which is pretty wild to me, considering I always feel like I see his name shooting a low number. But yeah, I think they kind of misconstrued that, where I would almost compare the Adam Hadwin, Nick Taylor situation to Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas, obviously to a much lesser scale, where Hadwin was the guy that came out early. Like 10 years ago, we had no idea who Nick Taylor was. Spieth was the one that came out early, won a lot. Adam Hadwin came out early, had good success, and then Justin Thomas, Nick Taylor come out, and they kind of leapfrog their friend, and now their friend is kind of trying to work their way back. You know what I mean? So I definitely think that there's a bit of that. And last year with the President's Cup being in Canada, obviously Canadians are very patriotic in that way. They want to represent their country just like anybody is. So I definitely think Adam Hadwin wouldn't have cared as much if it didn't have to do with him being able to play on that President's Cup team.
Yeah, and that's fair. And the funny thing, we always talk about certain PGA Tour players that have, in certain eyes, had meh careers. The money is there, though. Like, just like going all the way back to Kevin Kisner's comment, they pay a lot of money to be in the top 20 or whatever it is. These guys have had successful careers, and not that money's success, but in the PGA Tour, it's kind of it's directly correlated. The more you win, the more money you make. Yeah. And so, but there is a lot of guys that, there's guys that have won a few times, and then like Joe Highsmith, if you look back at his 2025, he'll probably have 10 miscuts, 12 miscuts, and then 1 win. And so it's like, what would you rather have? Would you rather be in the top 10, 5 out of 6 weeks, or would you rather win 1 tournament and miss the other 6 cuts? It's in the legacy portion of it, you got to have the wins. But I think just overall, like, happy career, if you're constantly top 10ing it and you're staying in the top 50 in the points and you're playing in all the signature events now where the PGA Tour is at, you're going to have a great career by just doing that and not necessarily needing to win. But winning also gives you that 2 years of like stress-free almost golf.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Along with the paycheck if it's a big enough tournament.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, look at Nick Dunlap's year last year. And obviously him being 19 years old makes a difference, but he won the Amex and then proceeded to miss like 10 of the next 12 cuts. And then he fucking wins again in Detroit. What did he win in Detroit? Or Minnesota? Yeah, I think it was Detroit. And then all of a sudden he's like rookie of the year, one of the best rookie seasons ever because he won twice and he had like a dozen missed cuts in between those 2 starts. So it just goes to show you definitely remember the winners more. But at the end of the day, like Kiz said, top 15, top 20 still pays quite a bit of dough. So yeah, I thought it was a very interesting episode. And in all honesty, Shane Lowry, I had completely forgot he hadn't won on the PGA Tour in like 5 or 6 years. It does not feel like it was that long ago that he had won. So it's definitely kind of a monkey off of his back to get another W to keep his status. But he's one of the kind of dudes where I could never see him losing his status regardless. But it was just kind of like eye-opening. I just never even thought he would sniff that. And for him to have not won, it does feel a little weird. So it was definitely a much bigger win for Shane than it was for Rory. And I think it was also kind of cool of Rory to be like, come on, dude. Like, I wouldn't say he was doing Shane a favor, but he was helping pick Shane's career back up and kind of get it jump-started, because I feel like that's kind of given Shane confidence to go on and play better from here. So
yeah, 100%. And it was a cool relationship, and I just love listening to Irish people talk. Speaking of not listening to commercials talk, this is an awesome update from the PGA Tour coming up this week at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. It's going to have a lot of eyes on it. There's going to be quite a few people that don't watch a ton of golf that will watch this event. And Player Caddy Conversations will highlight the latest fan forward initiative at the Arnold Palmer presented by MasterCard. So MasterCard paid for this, which is great. Shout out to MasterCard. I may get a MasterCard now because of this. They're going to repurpose commercial units to bring fans closer to conversations between tour athletes and their caddies, which is people have voted on this. This is something that everybody can get behind. But basically, I'm not going to read this whole article. Long story short, they launched a survey in 2024 with 50,000 plus responses, and they're trying to create the best version of the PGA Tour. Now, we always shit on the PGA Tour. We can lift it up a little bit and say at least they're trying to change. But basically, a lot of these commercial times are going to be players and caddies talking about the shot they just hit, the upcoming shot, how the last hole went, whatever they end up talking about. But I think it is really one of the coolest things on a golf course, on a professional golf course, that you don't get to hear and do not get to see, because it's commercial break. Guy hits a shot, guy putts, they go all around the whole course seeing actual golf shots, and people are like, oh, we don't get to see the golf shots. But I think this is a great middleman of, like, maybe they're missing a few golf shots that you'd want to see, but these caddy player interactions are going to be absolutely off the charts content.
Yeah, and I think especially with how the weather is supposed to be this week, it's supposed to be super windy down there. You're going to be able to kind of get an inside look at how these guys, pick their numbers and what they're going through in order to land on a number. And it's just going to be brutal conditions. It's supposed to be like borderline, I think, major championship style conditions this week. So these guys are going to be grinding over a lot of golf shots. And I do truly enjoy a lot of those conversations. I know that some of them do get a little long-winded, and there's times where I'm like, bro, just pull the trigger. And it does kind of blow your mind as a spectator, where you're hearing these dudes talk for so long and it feels like they're really saying nothing, but it's all just to get the player built up enough to have the confidence to pull the fucking trigger and make the golf swing. Which, man in the arena, when you're there doing it, you get it. But when you're watching it, you're like, how the fuck is this guy taking a minute and a half to hit a simple 8-iron or whatever? But it's just a different kind of pressure. And I think that even Full Swing has done a good job at kind of quantifying that type of pressure and showing what it means to these guys to A, keep their job, B, to win, things like that. I feel like professional golf gets looked at differently than other sports. It's not your NFL, NBA, that kind of athlete, but these guys still deal with the same pressure. And I would say even more pressure, because it's solely on them. They can't have team success without playing well. There's no team. There's no we in team here. So fucking, you got to play pretty well. And I think they've done a good job of highlighting that, because these dudes are under a shitload of pressure. And when the conditions get gnarly, they spare no. And I honestly, going back to like penalizing guys on the PGA Tour, I don't really think they give a fuck if they get penalized. They'd rather take more time and get the right thought and then get the right result that they want, rather than rush through it and get a bad result. So yeah, the caddy conversations are going to be great. And like you said, anything mic'd up, any professional sport mic'd up is better than not mic'd up. I wish they could do it with every single sport.
Yeah, my dream is that like in 30 years, certain players can get paid extra on their contracts to be mic'd up, and then you have to pay for a subscription or pay-per-view for a game, and you get to pick the player that's mic'd up. I think that would just be generational content. That's my dream for maybe when I'm 50 years old, watching my favorite sports teams try to win championships in the next cycle of greatness. Do you have anything else you want to get to before we get to What the Fuck Wednesday and finish this pod up and send people into the weekend of Arnold Palmer Invitational and the Puerto Rico Open?
No. Do you have any Subway stories this week, or are we just going right into WTF?
No, we can do Subway stories. So let's
see your graphic that you made. You got.
Oh yeah, here we go. Subway stories. Bada boom.
So, right, so I wrote it. It's perfect.
So I wrote this down. And oh god, oh yeah, okay. So I wrote this down.
You're trying to do the graphics and find what you wrote down at the same fucking time.
Yeah, last Friday wasn't all that eventful. I did walk up and there was a homeless group of people around there. No shocker there. One of the chicks out in front of the Subway goes, "Man, I just really keep hoping there's a beach close to here." And I just thought, oh, you're so fucking far away.
Oh my god.
So that was good. Took me like 15 minutes to order. I ended up being kind of late to pick up my kid from our nanny because of how long it took me to order, because I was going to eat this in the car on the way home, which I did. But the funny thing was, this guy looked like everybody in there just doesn't really like their job or their life. And it's kind of unfortunate. I do understand it. But the lady in front of me was like, "I'd like to make this a combo," as she's checking out. And he goes, our fountain machine's out, but you can take something out of the cooler right there. And all that was in the cooler was Honest Kids apple juice and milk. And she's like, looks in there and she's like, nah, I'm good. What else?
Single fucking soda to be had.
Yeah, he asked me what I wanted on my cold cut. So there's another fucking issue. I'm going to Subway after this pod, and I Googled what's on a normal cold cut combo so I can be ready with this answer. But he asked me that, and so then I just changed it to meatball. I just said I'm gonna have a meatball.
Wait, so this makes me think of this real quick, and we just need to have a short conversation. So you could technically like get a note card and write down exactly the cold cut you want, like what's on it, and the instructions and all of that and bring it in every time, do you think that would be an asshole move?
No, maybe I should do that.
Because
But I would also have to write it in Spanish based on my story 2 weeks ago.
you'd
So,
have to write it in multiple
como se
languages.
dice Subway Club?
Como se
Como se dice
dice
cold cut combo?
olives. Como se dice flatbread. Uh,
Yes.
but our uncle, Chief Roser, that we call him, he told me that years ago he always had a go-to drink out at the bar, like when they would go to like a nice steakhouse, but he would write it down on it. He had a note card that I think he laminated. You know how he is. We love him, but to a T, I think he laminated this note card and he would hand it to his waitress to hand to the bartender to make his cocktail. Do you feel like your cocktail is going to get pissed in if you do that?
Yeah,
Or
it's a
do you
little.
kind of appreciate that? Like, I know exactly how this guy wants it. So if I make it exactly how he wants it, he can't bitch about it. You know what I mean?
No, that's fair. I think a bartender would probably look at that and be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
And but at the same time, like you said, it's just one of those maybe like older people things where they're like, "Yeah, this is how I want it. I want it exactly this way." I mean, I respect that, but I also don't think I could ever do that.
Yeah, like I would immediately feel like an asshole. But I think there is a group of people that do low key just enjoy being given exact word for word instruction. Like, because there's no room for error at that point. If you're being told exactly what to do, exactly how to make something, then if somebody fucks it up, it's 100% on them.
Yeah, you have done literally everything in your power to get it exactly correct. All right, let's parlay that into What the Fuck Wednesday. I'll start out this week. This comes with a gym story. And there's this girl that I see most of the time, 90% of the time at the gym, every morning when I go. And the other day she was on, like, we're by the dumbbells and she's working out. And
So you're
I'm like,
saying you keep an eye on this woman?
no, I just see her is the thing. You see the same people when you go to the gym. You see like the same 20 people. Like there's this one guy that looks like Brett Kane that I literally want to say, "Are you Brett Kane?" But I'm listening to him on the radio, so I know it's not him. But so this girl is working out like a couple of the open benches down from me. So I go up to grab the 40-pound dumbbells or whatever, and I almost kick and then hit her phone because her phone is set up on the bottom of the dumbbells. And I'm like, I don't know if she's recording herself or whatever. So then naturally my curiosity kind of takes over and I like peek over. She's FaceTiming what looks like her boyfriend during the entire workout. And I was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Oh
Like
my
insane.
God.
And she just had her phone set up right by the bottom of the dumbbells. It was projecting her working out. And then you could see his face. Like he was also, I think, working out. I wasn't trying to like stare too much and get like caught staring because then I would have had to fucking change.
You're probably on
gyms.
Instagram somewhere where you just don't even know it. Like, look at
Yeah.
this fucking guy looking at my phone.
No, but yeah, so she literally she was FaceTiming during the entire workout. So I don't know if it's some psycho boyfriend that's like, you're gonna FaceTime me every time you work out, or we're gonna work out together and it's cute. I don't know
That is
what to think
shit.
of it, but all I could think was, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's definitely people, a certain demographic that love to FaceTime at any given at any point over a phone call, over a text message, and that's just something I can't get behind. I FaceTime you strictly to see your son, my nephew. I generally don't want to see your face. I want to see Saw Dogs, or your dogs, your actual dogs, mostly Joker. But yeah, that FaceTiming in public to me is gone too far. Like I've seen people at football games FaceTiming people, like standing there in the crowd. I'm like, what the fuck? Why take a picture, send it to them. You don't need to
Yeah,
FaceTime them while
they're
you're
live streaming the game and making money off of it. They're monetizing it on the YouTube here.
Yeah, absurd. Yeah, like who did that? Wasn't that Floyd Mayweather or somebody that like live streamed
Oh, Antonio Brown. He was
that's who it
live
was.
streaming the fight. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
electric.
My What the Fuck Wednesday. So I went out this morning to my favorite breakfast spot, and it's also my favorite pizza spot. It's just like an Italian. Their breakfast is phenomenal. They do all baked goods, like their baked their cookies, their croissants, everything they do is homemade, and it's fucking ridiculously good. And their pizza is like my favorite pizza I've ever had. But it's within walking distance, and I've actually haven't been there in a while. Been trying to, eat a little bit better. So I was like, it's my fucking birthday. I'm gonna go get myself something. So I walked down there, and there's this dude in front of me in line. This could be like my other what the fuck, but he was the guy that even the waitress, like, or the chick standing behind the desk, like, looked at me and like kind of looked over at him and gave me the eyes, like, this dude fucking sucks. Because he just could not. He was just standing there trying to decide, and obviously I was right behind him, and he took like 5 minutes trying to figure out what he wanted. Luckily, I was the only other dude in line, because if there would have been a line backed up, I'm sure she would have fucking lost it. So then I wait there, I get my sandwich, I walk back, just having a good old time. And then I walk back into the apartment, and the first thing, like, through the lobby, there's a mirror right there. And as I look at the mirror, I just have this big booger like hanging out of my nose. And I'm like, was this when I was checking out at the fucking breakfast spot, when I was walking around town, I just had this big old fucking booger in my nose. And obviously nobody's gonna say anything to you like out in public. So I was so bummed, because I was like in such a good mood. I was like, yeah, it's my fucking birthday, like, just really like up. And then I see this booger in my nose, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I can't just fuck up. I can't not fuck up one public interaction. So it was just one of those where I was just really bummed at the end.
Yeah, that's super unfortunate. Wait, but hilarious
And
on your
with
birthday.
the
It's like
size of my fucking nostrils, you could borderline house a family in there. So this fucking I was like, God damn it. This thing was just probably staring her right in the face. Like, that
oh
was all
man.
she could probably look at.
Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. That's unfortunate. Well, I am excited to see you this weekend. Happy birthday to you. Let me toss this up there. Thanks everybody for tuning in to this birthday edition. Look at that. Look at
Oh,
me
that's
go.
dope. Hell yeah.
Thanks
Oh my
everybody for
God.
tuning in to this edition of Big Drive Energy on Mitch's birthday. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the Puerto Rico Open. Enjoy the Arnold Palmer Invitational. A big UFC fight. Justin Gaethje's fighting this weekend. Should be a great sports weekend heading into next week. The Players. We got the Masters coming up soon. It's all going to be great. Make sure you're following along on all the socials for our content. We appreciate it. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you guys on Monday or potentially Sunday night. We'll figure that out. Peace.
Happy birthday to me.